Part of a student's IEP is providing the accommodations specified so that the student can be successful. Accommodations may include changes in the way content is presented or in the way that the student demonstrates mastery of the content. The IEP is a legal binding document, so it is very important that you are aware of these accommodations and are providing them appropriately. How will you know if a student receives special education services? One way is by looking in PowerSchool. If you go to that student's individual profile, you will see this symbol, the lowercase I, indicating that that student receives special education services. That may mean that they receive in classroom services for a disability. It can also mean that they are speech language only, which means that they see the speech language pathologist. They may or may not have classroom accommodations in that case, and you may not receive a IEP at a glance for those students that are speech only. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to call or email me and I can tell you if that student receives special ed services in the classroom or is just a speech only kiddo. In order to save you time, we don't want you going through every single student trying to figure out who is special ed and who is not. We will be putting IEP at a glance documents in your box for those students that we know that you have in class. Check your boxes. This should be coming out in the next week or so, and we will go over in just a second how you look at the IEP at a glance and the information that you can get from it. This is an IEP at a glance. The student's name and personal identifying information will be at the top. The other important thing that you need to take note of is the case manager. That will be listed at the top as well. That will be the person that you will contact if you have any questions or concerns on that student. The IEP goals and objectives will be listed. For many students, this will be the same goals and objectives as any other regular student in the general ed classroom. Some may have different objectives like getting work turned in, completing classwork, that kind of thing. There will be accommodations listed for each subject area as well as for electives. If there's not specific information listed for electives, I would recommend that you look at accommodations for other subject areas and use those that would be appropriate for your classroom. You will also see included accommodations for state testing. These are the accommodations that that student will get on state testing. For all of their state tests, it is broken down by the different tests. Some are in a separate location, some will test with you, some get extra time or frequent breaks. Many of our students don't have many accommodations, but they will just test with you with very minimal accommodations. Their services are listed here as well. Their special ed services will be listed. Any related services such as occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy will be listed. Something very helpful will be at the very end of the IEP at a glance. It will be under academic social management needs. It is an objective statement that gives you a little bit more information about that student. It will give you their category, any specific items about that student that might be helpful to you in the classroom. Once you've received that IEP at a glance and reviewed them, make sure that you keep that in a confidential area in your classroom that students do not have access to and that you're referring to it frequently. We need proof that you have reviewed that document. So once you've received all of those, you will need to go in the 7th and 8th grade building in the special ed conference room, which I believe is room 32. It's on the main hallway right across from Computer Lab 40. There will be a binder there marked for 7th grade or for 8th grade. You find that student's name, you find the access sheet that looks like this, and you will print your name, sign your name, and the purpose would just be review file. You're reviewing, you saying that you've reviewed that IEP at a glance. In the 6th grade building, that binder will be located in the counselor's office in the conference room. Again, if you have any specific questions about that student, the first person to contact would be that case manager, that teacher of record that's listed at the top of the IEP at a glance. Or you may contact me, Sharon Mitchell. My office is in room 65. My extension is 1752. Feel free to contact me with any questions that you have.